everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Palace. For this week's show, we are telling Hanukkah stories. It's going to be a good time. Please remember to keep all comments and questions related to the show topic and that this is a safe space. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to all of your comments and questions. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, grant StreamYard access so we can see your name when you have a comment or a question. Let's give a big shout out to my top sponsors, Ruth, Kirsten, Michelle, Ray, and Heidi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. If you would consider supporting me, you can go to sherrypalace.com and there you will find literally dozens of ways. But not for a few days. I've been in technology hell and it's currently down. So hit it in a few days if you don't mind. Thank you in advance, and thanks for welcoming us into your home and joining the conversation. I appreciate you all. Okay, let's meet our guests and get smarter. Abraham Bonowitz is the executive director and co-founder of deathpenaltyaction.org. He has been working to stop executions and free innocent people for more than 30 years. And co-founder of Death Penalty. Abe, turn that down. Stop executions. And co-founder of Death Penalty. Abe, turn that down. There we go.
Hi.
That's okay. Welcome back. It's good to have you back here.
Glad to be with you 2 weeks in a row.
I know. You're going to get the jacket pretty soon. Next, we have Nathaniel Pons, Alice Stair, and I'm going to stop with that because I always mess it up. They are a drag queen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and were an activist for 2SLGBTQIA. They were raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, and in a strict religious home. Nathaniel's self-hatred, harm, suicide attempts, and thoughts started once his family and religious mentors discovered he was queer. They forced him into conversion therapy. After the conversion therapy trauma, he left his family and the religion. With soul-searching and studies, Nathaniel discovered that the Creator made him and he must live the truth. After 7 dark years, on August 28, 2018, Nathaniel accepted their true, authentic self. Now a Jewish mystic, they believe the greatest religion is love. Welcome back, Alistair.
Hello.
Good to see you, love.
Good to see you.
And last but not least, we have my friend, Steve Grossman. He currently lives in Las Vegas, where he runs an insurance firm offering programs to the 2 largest casino unions. Previously, he lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, after moving from his native New Jersey. He is also the author of an award-winning book, Palimony. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, good to see you.
Hi.
So happy Hanukkah to you all. Thank you so much for being on the show. What did you say? I need to learn.
Chag Sameach.
And what does that mean?
Happy celebrations.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Happy
Okay.
holiday.
I love that Abe is lighting the candles. It is the Festival of Lights.
I'm just getting it set up here. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So while Abe
Yes.
does that, Steve, let's start with you. What does Hanukkah mean to you?
Well, basically, when I was young, like a lot of other Jews, we had a cousins club. A lot of times Jews will do this. It's like my grandfather had 9 brothers and sisters, and just a lot of distant relatives. And we used to get together once a year for Hanukkah, somewhere in the New York metropolitan area. So I'd meet a lot of friends and that I hadn't met previously, family that I was kind of disconnected from. So it was always a good celebration. We'd usually either do that or also go to my grandparents' house. So just a lot of fond memories, mostly, as a little kid celebrating the holiday, and just a general good time. One time my cousin and I came up with the great idea of trying to put candle wax on a dreidel to weight it so you would win more often. It didn't work. We got busted, and had a little bit of a lecture after that, but it was a fun time. So
That's great.
I realized a life of crime is not for me after that. So I found the straight and narrow.
It all started with the dreidel.
Yep.
hmm
Hello, my two Davids, David Goldman and David Keith Greenaway. Thanks for watching. Abe, what does Hanukkah mean to you?
Well, if I may,
You
can we
may.
light the candles before we
Yes,
get into the conversation? That way it can be there.
definitely.
I'll share with you my menorah, which this is a particular one that I've had for a while now, and it's the branches of it are shaped like Hebrew letters, Ayin, Tzadik, Chet, Yod, and Mem, which spell Eitz Chaim, which means tree of life. So it's I found this when I lived in South Florida, and I've had this for a very long time. So
It's beautiful.
yeah, so there's, you'll note, like if you see a standard menorah that you might see like in the crest of the state of Israel, and often it'll have 7 candles, 3 on each side, and then a middle one.
Mhm.
This is a Hanukkah menorah. So it's got 8, 4 on each side, or sometimes all 8. And then the shamas, the one that you use to light the others, is always at a higher point than the others. Okay, so we'll get into all of that in a little bit. But what you do is you light the shamas, and then you say the blessings, and then you light the candles, and then you have to let them burn out. You can't blow them out. It's designed to burn out on its own. So
And this is okay. So you light one candle for each day, right? It's a different candle
each day. And I'm told, I've never heard of this before, but some people might actually start with 8 and then take one away each night. I've never done that. I've never even heard about that until recently. Go ahead, Alistair.
That is actually what the Spanish Jews do, the Sephardic Jews.
Okay.
The Sephardic Jews, the Sephardic Jews, they have the full 8 and then take one away. As Ashkenazic tradition, which is the most prominent tradition, is we add each one each night.
Yeah, and I kind of like it. I mean, that's how I grew up. But it's brighter each night because you're adding more, right? And it always comes this time of the year, the darkest time of the year. So anyway, let's light them, and then they'll burn while we have our conversation.
Okay.
So there's 2 blessings that we would normally say tonight. There's a third one that we say on the first night, but because we're all together, I'll add that one tonight too. And you can just Google this to find it. But should figure out a stand, or here we go. Maybe this will work. There we go. So.
Okay, I have another question. Forgive my ignorance. Are the candles always blue? When I was looking for photos to use as the image, they were all different.
They can be all colors.
Okay.
I just happen to have a box that's various shades of blue, and this is what I had set out for tomorrow night actually, but because I've got them, I had them all set up, and I was in a rush. I grabbed them, so they're all color coordinated. So, but it could be any color. So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah, which means, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah lights.
Amen.
If I had a better voice, I'd be singing these. And that means, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our forefathers in those days at this time. And then the last one is one that we say at special moments when things happen, and in particular holidays, and it's called Shehechianu, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu, V'imanu, V'hidyanu, Lazman Hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has kept us and sustained us and allowed us to reach this day.
That's beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your latkes.
And the story is that the the oil never ceased, right?
What happened? Yeah, what happened is, and again, I may be getting some of this wrong, but the Assyrians, which were mostly a Greek kind of oriented empire, took over much of Israel and pretty much forbade the practice of Judaism, especially in the temple, main temple, and a small band of badass Jews called the Maccabees were able to recapture it, and they found a small vial of oil, which they thought could keep the eternal flame in the temple alive for a day, but it lasted 8 days. So it's kind of like if you had 2% on your phone and you had a 2-hour conversation and you didn't lose power, or you were on E and you made it to a gas station 50 miles away. So this was actually the second temple. I think it's the same one that the Wailing Wall was part of. And actually the Ethiopian Jewish community did not celebrate Hanukkah until they came to Israel, because they were supposedly separated from what might be called mainstream Judaism before the second temple actually was destroyed. So that's a new holiday, but they also added one to the Israeli calendar called the Sigd, which is a holiday they celebrated where they all climbed a particular mountain in Ethiopia and celebrated the rededication of the temple. So anyway, it's one of the holidays along with Purim and Passover. They tried to kill us. They didn't. We're still here. We're hungry. Let's eat. And that's pretty much it.
And that's exactly right. They tried to kill us. We prevailed. Let's eat. But the interesting thing is, and Steve is right, this was around the time of the second temple. So, Jews have been, the people to kill ever since the beginning of our time, and that part of the world, of course, being the headquarters or the center of religion for Christianity and Judaism and Islam, but even before Islam was created, a place that conquerors came over and over and over again, and the Jews were dispersed repeatedly. But in this particular instance, which happened around 170, 180 BCE, see, we don't say before Christ, we say before Common Era, BCE. And so that's when it was, and we know that it happened because it's written about repeatedly by others. Where's my phone? In fact, I'll show you a picture here from it's on my mother's refrigerator, but I have this because I was there the other night, and see if you can see it. Yeah. So this is my son, Isaac. Hold on. Where'd that go? Here we are.
Now that's technology, showing your phone on a video. There we go.
So this is my son. You can see that he's holding like a little sifter. This was on the screen that we were on an archaeological dig in Israel.
Wow. Oh my God.
And we were digging, stuff out of a cave. And he was so excited here because, and you can see that smile on his face. A few smiles out on that trip. And they would dump the stuff in and then shake it, and then you would see what you got out of it. Okay. And that dig was from the time, the era that Hanukkah happened on that same trip. So my son just turned 18 in July, and he's actually just moved out of the house last week. We're all excited about that. But on that same trip, we went to Masada, another place where they killed us all. And my wife, who is a Catholic, saw a design. It was actually a church on Masada. She saw this design on this mosaic on the wall. So we were allowed to take shards of the pottery that we were discovering in this dig, right? And she took that and she built this menorah out of it from we gave this to my mom. So this is menorah that we use in my mom's house that my wife made with actual shards of clay from the time of Hanukkah. And
How cool is
Wow.
that?
it really
Very
is.
magical.
It is, and I think the other thing I want to say about this is that actually there was, I guess the current war, sorry, is called Operation what is it, Iron Sword or something like that. But apparently the archaeological dig or find of the year, according to the National Geographic, I just saw this today, was they found some swords from that era in a cave. This is the archaeological find of the year.
Wow.
Swords from Judea, from Jewish warriors of that era, have been found this year in a cave in Israel, and it just, to me, when you talk about the meaning of Hanukkah, it's always, growing up, it's, oh my gosh, this is when we get our presents and all that sort of thing, and it's a fun time and you eat, but especially now with the war going on and people out there saying that, that the land was never, that the land is stolen, and that the truth about this history here is it's verifiable. It's confirmed over and over and over again by many different sources that Jews have been in that land from for thousands of years. And here we are once again, people trying to kill us, and we're overcoming. And I know it's awful. We all are very pained by the very difficult situation that we're in, but these terrorists have to be dealt with, and it's a sad situation. And that's my
the joys
into it. So
the joys. I don't want to. I wanted this show to be really happy. So let's not talk about the war right now, because that just fucking sucks. So.
Well, a lot of the foods are all based in oil, so if you hate greasy food, Hanukkah's maybe not for you, but it's oil that was used in the lamp. Latkes are fried in oil. There's an Israeli kind of donut. I forget, I probably won't pronounce it right. Sugarim or something like that, but that's fried in oil, so it's basically a greasy food holiday. So
I that's what I was going to ask. So obviously, when you're a kid, the presents mean the most. When I was
probably more because it's proximity to Christmas. It kind of took on that.
Okay. So when I was with my ex, he is Jewish, kind of. Like, really, the only thing that's Jewish about him is he celebrates Hanukkah.
Like George Santos Jewish, or
exactly. Exactly. So. As I would be like always questioning him, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? And he'd be like, I don't know. So I just gave up on, trying to learn information about the heritage on that. But I truly appreciated the gifts every day. Is that common? Was that, because that's what he said the Hanukkah was about. I got a different gift every day. Or was that just his oddity?
There's always a small gift. The way we did it in my family is there would be like one big gift, but there's always something. There's also a tradition of giving a little bit of money, Hanukkah gelt, as he would. So that's why you'll see the chocolate coins and stuff.
Okay.
There's the whole element of the dreidel. I've got a dreidel around here somewhere.
And what is the symbolism of the dreidel? I know it's a toy and a game to be played, but
each of the sides of the dreidel have a different letter.
Yes.
Gimel is a good one, High, and two others. But if you take the first letter of each of the four letters, it will phonetically say a great miracle happened here.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah. So
I only know the song.
Here's my dreidel.
Okay. I'm at work, so I'm dreidelless right now. I'd probably try to rig mine.
See if I can make this work here.
Make it fall on Gimel more often, then we'll talk.
So, as with most holidays, food is a huge issue, right? That's why people come together.
Except Yom Kippur, then it's like no food is the issue.
Oh,
Yeah.
How about Yom Kippur? Is you get to break the fast.
That's true.
Before you start the fast, then you get to break the fast.
This is true.
Yep.
Traditions there
There's
too.
always food involved.
Alistair, what were you going to say?
Well, I wanted to share my favorite Hanukkah tradition, and that is going to my synagogue. I go to B'nai Emunah here in Tulsa. In fact, this year we had the nation's tallest menorah besides the one in New York, because they have a pretty tall one. We had built it. It's huge. They built one here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was actual flamed and everything with torches. So it was just a very beautiful and magical moment when we lit every one of them the other night. It was this past Sunday evening on the 10th. And also, I love giving back to the community. We did another tradition where we went to Meals on Wheels and helped them out with their food process and sorting out the food to get food to those in hospice care or those that are in need, etc. And then recently I have taken up a tradition in the past several years for Bikes for Kids. That is where we raise enough money or bikes to have 1,200 bikes to give to the kids in need, no matter what they celebrate, but to give to those kids in need that may not have anything for the holiday season. And last night we just had our first 300 bikes, and then now we just reached to this evening 600 bikes. So we're raising funds and doing all these different things to give back to the community, to be a light, because that's what the main reason I love about Hanukkah is to remind us to be a light in the darkness, especially right now with what we're going through all around the world, especially for those us Jews. But just to be a light in the darkness, that's the shamash candle is for us, the servant candle. It's to light the other candles. And us Jews are always reminded to be a shamash, to be a servant, to light others, to be a light to others into the world. So that's what Hanukkah is lovely about. I love the gelt. I love the dreidels. I love the fried food. My doctor doesn't love all of that, but thankfully it's just once a year.
There you go. Yeah.
Contribution to your cardiologist, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so the big debate is whether latkes are better with sour cream or applesauce.
Okay, what's a latke?
So, latke is a potato pancake. So it's basically you would put it into like a flat hockey puck kind of disc thing and fry it and get it just crispy on the outside. And depending on which side of the debate you're on, you either have it with applesauce or with sour cream,
or both.
Or both.
I love both, actually.
Yeah.
What's that?
I love both, actually. And what I put in my sour cream is that Lipton onion soup mix. And all of that together was amazing. I tried it this year. It was...
What time's dinner?
Oh,
well, I haven't tried that. I know a Mexican mixed family of Mexican and Jewish, and she puts jalapenos in her matzo balls. So,
I need to try that.
Together. Yeah,
do all manner of things. We sometimes we'll make latkes out of sweet potatoes, but there's lots of different ways to do it. My mom had us over for dinner the other night and threatened to go and get her pre-made latkes from Trader Joe's, and I said, you're not going to serve us, not homemade latkes. So I think she bit the bullet and actually made latkes, and they were delicious, of course. It's just one of those things that everybody's got their traditions, and that's the thing is that it's a way, it's a time for people to be together. It's a time to gather, it's to remember our heritage and to celebrate this miracle that the oil lasted until they could purify more oil. But really, it's also the miracle of the survivals of the Jewish people,
and being able to adhere to your faith or be Jewish, not in secret, but just be your genuine self, which is not a bad message now.
Yeah, the empowerment. I want to get back to what Alistair was saying about the bikes, because he actually inspired something in me. Alistair contacted me for a donation for the bikes, and I gave some. So Alistair has been updating me on the progress, and I kind of got my ego kind of got like, wow, well, if Alistair's doing this, then I want to do more. And we were talking before the show going, that's the way it should be right now. Our egos should be working to help others, and who can, the competition should be who can be of greater service, who can do more for people. And that's what we should be competing for, lighting those lights. It only takes one light to light 8 or millions. And I love that message out of all of it.
Yes.
So what do we have any funny, like, oh my God, Mom served us rotten latke? I mean, is there anything funny, or any of those good stories?
My cousin during Hanukkah got a bad stomach ache and had to go actually to the hospital for some sort of X-ray, and they found that it was a latke, actually. So my aunt never lived that down. Like, you're such a horrible cook. Your latkes, don't even digest, or too hard, whatever. So never lived that down. So I have a funny story. As I was reading Alistair's background, it's kind of related to Hanukkah, but not 100%. But the editor of my book was this redheaded hippie in her 60s from Texas. So she's seen a lot. She passed away, sadly. But when I was writing, I have 2 sons, and I was like, you know what? In the book, there's a daughter that's kind of rebellious, and I haven't had any daughters, so I don't know firsthand, although, I got some anecdotal stuff from other people. So she said, well, I could tell you about my daughter, but and you can use it for the book if you like. And what happened is, when her daughter went to college, she was being a hippie. She's all geared up for the rebellious being sex, drugs, and rock and roll and everything like that. And her daughter's first boyfriend was a Mormon. And so she kind of went in the other direction. Rather than wearing, revealing clothes or smoking pot or whatever, she would wear like really long, modest dresses, wouldn't drink alcohol, wouldn't do any of that. And lo and behold, her boyfriend went on a mission to South America, and they started corresponding. This was before, emails and such. And when Mormon missionary came back, he was ex-Mormon transitioning to female, and was, I guess, shunned from the Mormon church or whatever they call the actual term, but became converted to Judaism. And her daughter and her friend are like best buds and go shopping at, for makeup together and swap each other's clothes and stuff like that. But she was from St. Louis, so I said, it was right around Hanukkah when this happened. I said, if she needs a place to go for Hanukkah, my brother-in-law's parents live in St. Louis. I'm sure they'd love to have her over. So I just thought that was,
that's awesome.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, Alistair, I got to tell you, when I was talking to other people who couldn't be on the show tonight, they asked me who was on. And when I said a Jewish drag queen, I coming from my history, I expected some something like that. Every single Jew that I spoke with went, "That's awesome," and I loved that. I loved the acceptance. Yes. I loved the empowerment. Like I said, historically, it'd be like, "Whoa, I don't know if but there was so much enthusiasm, and they were saying, "Well, now I have to try and be on there if Alistair is going to be there." So,
well, what's wonderful is my synagogue really embraces me. That's last Purim. They had me dress as Queen Esther in my pride gown. I had a pride gown. I had my crown, and it was all pride colors. And that was when Oklahoma was going through a lot of the debates of, drag entertainers and queer individuals and trans laws and just all that hoopla. So they had me share the story of Esther with our rabbi. And then afterwards, for the big festival, there was drag story time. And of course, I read several Purim books. So my synagogue's very open-minded and love it. And in fact, this year I was the DJ for Hanukkah, this Hanukkah celebration past Sunday. And I've had my rabbi come to some of my shows, actually. I've had to, behave myself a little bit more, but yeah, it was just a lot of fun. And it's just wonderful how much as I'm embraced by my synagogue and my family. So,
and that's so beautiful.
Yep. And we got to do Hanukkah. My boyfriend and I got to do Hanukkah with his daughters, my daughters too, because, I've accepted them most definitely in my life. And so they have been loving learning about Hanukkah. They love to light the candles because we let them light it with supervision, of course, so the house don't burn down. But they just love it, and they've loved playing dreidel and playing for gelt and all that fun stuff. So seeing the joy on the children is what's also a lot of fun for Hanukkah. Of course, with any holiday, correct? But for Hanukkah, it's just like just seeing them just amazed and gaze at the candles, and just every time we light them and we get done, they're like, wow. It's like they get hypnotized and just go, wow. It was so cute. So it's been a joy, and that's what I just want to bring to many kids' lives with these Bikes for Kids, is bringing joy. So,
yeah. Abe, you had something to say?
I was going to say that you reminded me, Alistair, that when I was in 5th grade at the Columbus Torah Academy in Columbus, Ohio, I played Esther.
Nice.
But for whatever reason, they were trying to figure out who would do it, and I just, making a joke, said, "Well, I'll do it," and then suddenly that was it. And
your first drag experience.
yes, and
that's wonderful.
Probably not my last, but it's not something I do professionally. And
yeah.
But in terms of, I was trying to think of funny stories from Hanukkah, but really, it's sometimes you get gag gifts. I mean, when you got to come up with things that you can do, for 8 days, especially if you're a parent and you've got to satisfy this idea. Of making
I didn't think of the pressure. We the Christians only have that one day, so that it's like, okay, go boom, 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 let's get for that one day. But yeah, that for parents, Hanukkah must be some pressure.
It's how you set expectations, right?
Always, yes.
My family never made it like it was a big deal, but certainly, there would be one bigger present and then something small every night, and usually ones came on the first night or whatever it made sense. Obviously, when you got to deal with this for 8 days, then you pick a night that works for everybody to get together, and the rest of the time, then you you do it yourself. And at my table, we're on in my house here. Right now, it's just my wife and I, and we light her Advent candles, and then our menorah, and they burn together.
That's awesome, and that's one thing that I want to reiterate is that so much of Christianity uses the Torah for hate, and the Torah is, across the board, generally speaking, don't at me or send me hate mail, but I know this one Jew, are more accepting, are more honoring, are more inclusive than the other Abrahamic faiths, which would be Christianity and Islam.
But you have to remember, Jews do not go by the fundamentalist interpretation of the scripture.
Exactly.
They go by a current rabbinic interpretation. That's what halakha, Jewish law, is, and for 2,000 years, it's in many ways been settled for example, the work that I do with the death penalty, and if you read the Torah, you're going to find all kinds of horror stories, war and slaughter, and uh, there's. I saw a TikTok the other day. Somebody was asking people about banning books, and and they said, "Would you ban a book about two daughters that got their father drunk and then slept with him?" Which was the portion of the Torah that we just read a couple of weeks ago on Shabbat. And of course, the woman said, "Well, yeah, we've got to ban that book." But that's the five books of Moses. That's the Bible, and people don't get it. So what we have to understand then is that it's not intended to be a literal interpretation. It's intended to be something that the rabbis interpret and create rules around it. There's still stuff that I don't understand, but I've become a bit of an expert when it comes to capital punishment and punishment in general. And essentially you have, the scare tactics of what's in the Torah, and then the way the rabbis ameliorated that. And for example, with the death penalty, of course, the death penalty exists in Jewish law, but there are so many preconditions that must be in place before you can have an execution according to Jewish law that you'll never have one. For example, you have to be warned before you commit the crime by two people, not related to each other or the victim or the killer.
Mm-hmm.
If you do this, you might face a death penalty. And then, of course, you have to do it. You have to be convicted by a unanimous Sanhedrin, a unanimous 23 rabbi court. And, the joke is we'll try to get 23 Jews to agree on anything. Right?
Not even just Jews, people.
Two Jews together, 5 opinions. That's the old thing.
Yeah. And then it goes, the story goes that, they're talking about it. And one rabbi says, if there would be one execution in 7 years, then it would be a bloody court and must be disbanded. And another rabbi says once in 70 years. And then Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva say, if we were on the court, it would never happen. And then usually people stop at that, but then there's another, the very next piece of that tract is a rabbi that says, then we will multiply the murderers in Israel. And of course, that speaks to the idea of deterrence, and this rabbi arguing for the death penalty being a deterrent. Now, 1,000 years ago, prisons weren't exactly what we have now, where we could be reasonably confident that dangerous prisoners aren't getting out. Of course, that happens once in a while, but it's not the norm. But deterrence is a whole different story now. And in any case, what you have now, one of the few things where you have unanimity among the Orthodox and the Conservative and the Reform and the other branches of Judaism is an opposition to the death penalty as it is applied in the United States today. And for different motivations, but at the end of the day, we're unanimous on that. And that's one of the things that drives me in my work, and that I end up, working with is Jewish communities around the death penalty. And I guess I'll use this moment to say, listen to NPR or go to npr.org. You'll find it it's right on the front page of npr.org, an article that just came out this afternoon about the gas chamber in Alabama that they're trying to start up. It'd be the first gas chamber execution in the United States since the 1990s. Arizona has an actual gas chamber using Zyklon B, the gas that the Nazis used to kill millions of Jews. They're experimenting with a different gas, nitrogen, to do nitrogen hypoxia. And of course, we're organizing Jews to come together and sign this petition, which you can find on the front page of deathpenaltyaction.org, by the way. But everybody can sign it, but especially Jews, because so many of us were murdered in gas chambers. That so this is a topic of discussion that is happening in the world, in the United States today. Literally, because the next execution scheduled in the United States is a guy named Kenny Smith, who actually they tried to execute him a year and a half ago or so. Let's see, it was in November 2 years ago now, and they couldn't get the IV started. By the way, lethal injection, also an invention of Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler's personal physician, designing the way we execute our prisoners in most cases in this country. But this guy was on the gurney for 4 hours and they couldn't get an IV started, and they finally had to let him go back to his cell. That happened twice in a row in Alabama. So now they're trying this new thing, nitrogen hypoxia, smothering with gas, and we're fighting it, both as abolitionists but also as Jews. I'm co-founder of a I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder here, but the logo for L'Chaim, Jews Against the Death Penalty, which is a Facebook
which
page.
I think is really important, Abe, because there's so much anti-Semitism around there with saying that the Jews killed Jesus. And that just makes my head explode, because the Jews didn't kill Jesus. Power killed Jesus. All of that.
Jesus was a Jew.
Right. So to have the Jews standing there as yourself against the death penalty now, I just absolutely love that, because it is my hope that that false narrative, that bigoted narrative, that anti-Semitic narrative is dispelled, if only for your work.
Yeah, well, this is what's happening in our country, and this is one of the things that drives me to do this work. I'm the co-founder of DeathPenaltyAction.org. And it's not just a webpage; we are the leading anti-death penalty organization in the country, and we were started up when Donald Trump was first inaugurated. Literally, he was inaugurated, and we looked around and said, there's going to be federal executions for the first time since George W. Bush. And Donald Trump's going to do his best to do it. And he ended up in the last 6 months of his presidency becoming the most executing president since Roosevelt. Roosevelt had 16 executions over 13 years. Trump had 13 executions over 6 months. And he's talking about that regularly on the campaign trail too. So this is real. It's happening. And we believe that we can stop it, and we are stopping it. I mean, we've abolished the death penalty in New Jersey, New Mexico, Illinois, Connecticut, Maryland, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Colorado, Virginia, Washington State, and Jews have been in leadership in most of those as part of those campaigns. And now we have campaigns going in Ohio and Pennsylvania, where the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, as an opening salvo once he became governor, he announced no executions on my watch. And for the first time, a governor actually did that, also said to the legislature, pass a bill to abolish the death penalty so I can sign it. Okay, so Jewish leadership on this issue. And I want to invite, I got the floor here, anybody that wants to share some guilt our way, deathpenaltyaction.org, we could use it, and we'll put any funds that come our way to good use to stopping this this outrage in our criminal legal system.
And for all you mensches out there, guilt is money.
No.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Alistair?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Money.
Yeah.
And I want to say, Alistair, we should be in touch, and maybe we now know each other on in the Facebook chat that brought us together. But one of the campaigns that we're running is Oklahoma, where they set 25 execution dates to happen over a 2-year period. We've slowed it down a bit, but there was just an execution there last 3 weeks ago now, of a guy who was, by all accounts, defending himself when he wrestled the gun away and killed 2 guys. And there's another one scheduled of a guy who's certifiably insane in the beginning of February. So your governor there in Oklahoma is a bit of a over the top with this, because in this last case, he actually had a recommendation to grant mercy through clemency and commutation, and he chose to not do that. So, we're working on it all over the country and in other countries. We're also working there's a move on to bring the death penalty, to use the death penalty in Israel with these terrorists. And of course, we're fighting that too, because, as soon as you give government this power, it gets abused. And that's one of the challenges. We've got 195 people so far known to have been exonerated and freed from death rows across this country, because the evidence against them was thrown out because it was not It just couldn't hold water, and that's the ones we know about, right? Of course, we have.
Well, we went into all of this last week, so I want to refer anyone who's interested in learning more. Abe gave a fantastic breakdown on last week's show, all about the death penalty. Excuse me. Thank you so much for your work, Abe, and I would hope that that is a part of you lighting the candles is for all of those lives. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that within Judaism, there's a natural inclination to side with the underdog or the marginalized. Obviously, we're not a monolithic opinion, but I think just based on history, most Jews, at least that I know, realize that tyrants generally abuse their power and don't extend the same humanity to everyone under their domain. And the only thing keeping us from, might makes right is, being the voice for the underdog. And I think in the United States, let's face it, if you have the wherewithal to mount a defense with, a la O.J. Simpson or, unlimited funds, your chances of being sentenced to death are virtually nil. Yeah. Whereas if you're just some poor schlub from the wrong side of the tracks that happened to be at the wrong place in the wrong time, or maybe looked a little bit like someone who actually did the crime, with a public defender, your odds of getting convicted are exponentially higher. So, you can't just say, "Oh, sorry, we were wrong." Here, get out of jail free card when you apply the death penalty. And, I think.
Well, and I was talking to a future guest today about this, and she told me about the Jews helping with the civil rights movement and marching with the people of color and really helping build that movement. So when there's anti-Semitic rhetoric going out there saying that Jews are divisive, again, my personal experience, everybody has their own stuff, but from what I see across the board, Jewish people tend to be more accepting, more inclusive, more loving. Again, generally speaking, there's assholes in every crowd. And if you don't think there's, it's probably you.
There's not a few.
But to say that any group of people is, universally this way is just wrong in and of itself. But again, my personal experience and Alistair's proof at how accepting Judaism tends to be. So I think that we should, people who aren't Jewish should at least try to measure that and be as inclusive as they are. Even take our egos and go, I'm going to be more inclusive and do it better, that way, because that's the way we're all going to be okay.
I think
because
go ahead.
I agree, because a lot of the ignorance is from not educating themselves. Like, I've seen so many TikToks as of late where there's a lot of Jews doing their best to educate all these young individuals that are siding with anti-Semitism and other aspects. And it's like they're trying to educate them and teach them, hey, you Jews have been in that land forever. Jews have a right to that land. It's their land. All these different stories and all these different, as you were mentioning earlier, where your son found pieces of ancient times of the Maccabee era, and so it's like this there, but they have to take off that blindfold of misinformation and ignorance to see it and to hear it, or otherwise they're going to be misguided into what a lot of people are trying to prevent, another Holocaust. And that's what we're doing our best, is to prevent all of these things to be recreated, because if we don't learn from history, we will repeat it.
Well, and I think it's really important. I've been on my little soapbox on social media that people be intelligent and educated enough to be able to separate government from the people. I am 100% against Netanyahu, and I am 100% against Hamas. I fully stand with the Palestinian people, and I fully stand with the Jewish people. I think that there is that cohesion there, and to blame the people for the government is where anti-Semitic attacks come in, anti-Islam attacks come in, and I think it's just generally ignorant. If we're going to be inclusive with all of this, especially around the holidays, whether it be Christmas or Hanukkah, or even Jerry Seinfeld's, whatever he had.
For the rest of us.
There you go. Festivus for the rest of us. That the point is inclusion. The point is love. The point is beauty and stopping to be thankful for generations of blessings, of generations of covering that we've all had. And to say otherwise is just ignorant.
I mean, two things could be true at the same time.
Exactly.
The Jews can be, inhabitants of that land, and it's also true there's been a presence of the Palestinians for a while.
Exactly.
So it's a question of how do we get out? How do we learn to live side by side? I mean, during the BLM protests, algorithms for social media, you had to either say that you're anti-police or you're against police brutality, and you could say that most police do their job honorably, but at the same time there's some elements that are abusing their power, and those two things can exist at the same time. Similarly, the Palestinians have a right to live in peace, so do the Israelis. Not every Palestinian is Hamas, not every Israeli is a Netanyahu supporter, and the most vociferous opposition to Netanyahu is mostly from Israelis. And again, if you were to try to quote unquote punish the Jews for what they've been doing in occupied Palestine or whatever, the last place you would look would be the people that live in kibbutzes or go to music festivals in the middle of the desert to celebrate peace. Those people are probably the most dovish elements of the society, but they got slaughtered just the same. So I think it all goes down to seeing people as people and being in favor of them living their authentic selves, whether they happen to be Muslims or drag queens or Jews or whatever. Makes them happy. As long as it's not harming anyone else, live and let live is really the mantra. And I mean, that's part of this holiday is basically, Jews were not allowed at that particular point and to be Jews, and there's something inherently wrong about that. That people have to subjugate who they are because of who's in power.
Exactly. It's critical thinking, Steve. We talk about that all the time.
One of the challenges, though, is, the people who take what they hear on social media or what they hear from somebody that they think they respect or they think knows, and they take it as the gospel truth without checking. That's what I always say, because I used to support the death penalty, and I had to try to prove those people wrong about how it's a failed public policy before I had to change my mind, and then come to understand, the damage that it does to all the different peripheral people impacted before I changed my heart on the issue. And whenever I speak in schools, especially, I'll tell people, don't take my word for it, but check it out and make sure to be the truth is actually the truth. And on this or any other issue. And that always makes, especially in religious-based schools, it makes the teachers kind of cringe.
Have faith.
But just a couple of days ago, The Economist came out with a story, and I put it on my Facebook page. You can find it at the Economist webpage, that about 20% of young people now believe that the Holocaust was in the United States.
I saw that. Oh my God! Yeah, I saw that. It's like
it's awful. But I was already planning to do this before October 7th, but now it takes a whole new meaning for me. But on Friday, I'm getting on a plane and I'm flying to Poland, and I'm going to be joining an academic tour of all of the Nazi death camps in Poland over 10 days. We're going to go and see each of them. So I'll be sharing about that on my
heavy time.
page. If you want, we can have another dialogue when I get back.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to take a time to see my mom's mom and my dad's dad are from shtetls in Poland, from little communities, and I'm going to go and visit those communities and just see where we're from. But I remind everybody that all of my grandparents came to the United States between 1898 and 1920, 21, and they were leaving because Jews were being attacked in their communities in Eastern Europe. And I'm just thankful that they all got here before World War II, because the shtetl that my mom's mother is from, Bryansk, there's a whole frontline about this. You can just Google Bryansk and you'll find Frontline. It's a 3-hour documentary about, and there's a book too. 6,000 Jews dead in 24 hours of murder. Okay. And, so that's our story. That's our history. They tried to kill us. We prevailed. Let's eat. But first we have to prevail. And, that's why this Hanukkah is a little bit different for me and for many of us, because I see more menorahs in the windows this year than I've ever before. People are saying we have to stand up and be who we are and not be shy about it, and not be afraid, because, we deserve to live too. And that's part of the challenge is, not a Palestinian, but Hamas says, kill them all. And
it's almost like, you get the sense that if you somehow express some symbol of Judaism, something as innocuous or as beautiful as a menorah, that you're pro-murdering Palestinian civilians. It just,
which is
my head is exploding from all the stuff I'm hearing, and it's just such. I don't know whether it's social media that fertilizes the seeds of stuff that was already there and leading you down a path, but you're really, denying someone else's humanity is not necessary to affirm someone else's humanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I told a story.
Just like denying racism with racism is not right either. And and I know we're trying to make this more of a lighthearted thing, so I want to share something really quickly. I understand that a lot of people have been really attacking us as when we put our menorahs up, etc. But it's also igniting that fire within other Jews that haven't been practicing. Because my drag grandmother, actually, she's Jewish also, and seeing my posts of my menorahs being lit with my family and the stuff I've done with my synagogue, she's like, I want to do that now. I want to practice again. I want to get, back into my roots. So, this moment in time is not only it's been horrible, it's been also good, because it's also gotten a lot of us Jews that haven't been practicing or were, just not doing whatever. And it's just igniting the others to say, you know what, I need to practice. I need to do the things that I need to do for my soul and my spirit and my people. And so hearing that, it just is wonderful. And I sent her a menorah for Hanukkah, and she just was just in tears and I can't wait to light it tonight. So, I'm loving this season. I'm loving the fact that we're doing what we can to be a light in this dark time, because it's very dark.
It is.
It's almost everyone else is defining who we are, and it's like, to me, it's so inaccurate. Like Sherry was talking about, it's not a monolithic opinion, but like I said, most Jews are aligned with most progressive causes in the majority of instances. This is empirical data. It's not something made up. And yet, if I were just arriving here from another planet, reading about Jews on TikTok, I would think, oh my God, those people are horrible. So the disparity between the two is just causing so much, anxiety, and do you fight every single battle every time you see someone making up stories like Israeli helicopters were actually responsible for killing all the people at the music festival, or people didn't get raped or whatever. It's exhausting that you feel, and I remember talking to some of my black friends during, the whole BLM stuff. And I'm like, when you hear someone posting, well, don't all lives matter, or all those little catchphrases that are like code word dog whistles for, those people are less human than we are. Like, what does it do to you? And the most common response was kind of surprising to me, is it's exhausting. You feel damned if you don't respond, and damned if you do, because you invite other, comments afterwards. And my sister put together a program where she was inviting people to put menorahs either on their social media or in their windows that didn't necessarily celebrate Hanukkah or weren't necessarily Jewish, just to say, hey, this deserves respect too, regardless of your opinions on anything else. But I don't know if there's something inherently wrong or problematic with social media that seems to be amplifying this, or
100%. 100%. I mean, the trolls, if you're an asshole, you're going to get boosted. It's
keyboard warriors that.
Yeah. And it's to the degradation of our society. And it's also making people really tribal. So
can I ask Alistair what a drag grandma is? Pardon my ignorance. I don't really know, but I'm curious.
That's okay.
Well, in the drag community, when, let's say, you first start drag, you get a mentor whom is like a drag mother. And then you become part of that family. Like, my family is the Summers family, which is why it's Alistair Abulafia Devane Summers. So Summers is my actual drag house that I'm a part of family. Also Devane as well as another house I'm a part of, but she's a retired drag queen that just sews now. But Summers is my Winter Summers is my drag mom, and her mom is my drag grandmother, and she has a Jewish background.
Is it like with Mardi Gras in New Orleans, where different, I guess they're called crews, compete? Like, if there was like a beauty pageant, would one house compete against the other, and you kind of root for
Actually,
each other?
when we have our drag pageants, it's not necessarily the house, but it's the individual competing, and of course they're representing their house, they're representing their family, stuff of that nature. But yeah, it's similar like that. It's just basically to create family, because a lot of us have been kicked out of our homes to being who we are, or kicked out of families of being who we are. So it's basically to create family and to comfort each other and lift each other up and love each other. So yeah.
When you say house, are you actual roommates, or is it just a figure?
No, it's just like basically an umbrella. It's like like this is your family. Now that we're roommates, some actually are, because like I said, some get kicked out of their homes and stuff of that nature, so they really don't have a place to go. So a lot of them have, just to save money, they all become roommates so they can live comfortably. So, but there are some that, of course, don't have to do that.
There, and we can continue this conversation in the VIP room. We are already over the hour. Gotcha. Thank you all so much for coming and having this wonderful conversation. Happy Hanukkah. Abe, any final words, and where can people find you?
DeathPenaltyAction.org. And I do want to say, that our webpage is up because we did this last week. However, Death Penalty Action doesn't actually take a position on Gaza and all that stuff. We are focused on judicial executions in the United States. So I'm here tonight talking about Hanukkah as a Jewish guy who just happens to also be the executive director of this national organization. So just wanted to put in that little clarification, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be with you all tonight and to share. And you can see the candles are starting to burn out, so our timing is perfect. And thank you again, Sherry, for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing the menorah. It's so beautiful. Alistair, any final words, and where can people find you?
Well, of course, you can find me on my social medias. My Facebook is Alistair Abulafia Devane Summers. Same thing as my Instagram. I don't have a website yet. That's actually in the works for my entertainment business I do. but also along with that entertainment business will be different organizations will be helping and aiding, just like Bikes for Kids. So if anyone can give, you can see my Cash App is right there, because we still have 450 bikes left to go before Miss Natalie Cash gets off her big tower, because she's staying up there all week until we get this over 1,000 bikes. So she's sleeping up there, she's eating up there, like just this awesome individual. So if you can give, that would be wonderful. You can see my Cash App and Venmo is flashing on the bottom of the screen, and I will definitely make sure that money gets to the right hands to purchase bikes so we can reach our goal tomorrow.
Thank you so much for the work that you've done and for coming back. I love talking to you.
Yes, I love talking to you too.
Steve, any final words, and where can people find you?
Well, I now have to do some worthy endeavor, seeing as I don't want to fall too far behind these two extraordinary individuals. So I'll probably, my sister does have a Project Menorah thing. Her name is Lori Elberg. And if you want to display in the kind of show of solidarity that with your Jewish friends and neighbors, that would be helpful. My book is on Amazon. I don't know if you'll get any great pearls of wisdom from it, but you might have a few laughs. It's called Palimony, available on Amazon. And I'm happy to sign a copy for anyone that wants one. And just really glad to be here. I've enjoyed, interacting with Sherry. I know her whole genre that religion should be about love and not who you should hate or who you should exclude really struck a responsive chord for me. And I think, if the world adhered to that, we'd have Christians, Muslims, and Jews living in peace side by side.
Exactly.
So I'm 100%
Exactly.
behind it. And,
Thank you.
you don't have to not be who you are to help someone else be who they are.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
They're not threatening in any manner. Just let people live their authentic lives and try to be the best version of yourself.
Yes.
I have loved having you all on this show. I'm going to send you backstage. Hold up if you can go to the VIP, because I've been getting messages saying that they want to talk to you. So I'm going to send you backstage and close the show. I'll see you in a minute.
Cool.
One of the things that I wanted to say was a short little story. I'll make it quick. In 2002, I was in Germany. It was right before the U.S. was going to invade Iraq. George Bush was president. I went into a pub, and this beautiful old man came up and started talking to me, and he put his hands on my face and said, "Please do not bomb us." And I was completely caught off guard. I was like, I don't have any choice on whether and who we bomb. But I was judged as an American like I had the power to influence George Bush or had any type of influence over what we were going to bomb or not. I assured him I had no power, but I was still judged just because of my heritage. I'd never experienced that before. As a white woman, I was kind of immune, but it gave me a perspective of how other people are judged. And as I said in the beginning of the show, to judge a person over their government, I loved that little German man, but it was ignorant. So don't do it. Don't be anti-Semitic because you disagree with Netanyahu. Do not judge people according to their government. But most of all, spread the love. This is what we are all here for. Light a light. Spread some love. Figure out what you can do, because right now is the season. Okay. That's my diatribe. Thank you so much for watching the show. I can't wait to have all your comments and questions come through. Lori, I wanted to tell you he was playing with a dreidel. I'm sorry I didn't get to that sooner. 2 more shows left in this year, and I don't even know what they are, so they're going to be a surprise. Have a wonderful week, and as always, walk in love. Mwah! See you next week.